Welcome to Supreme Book Dealer. My name is Wes, and I know it has been an extremely long time since my last video, and I sincerely apologize for that. I was working on my master's degree, and I really didn't have the time to make videos, but I finished my master's program. I got my degree in middle school ELA education, and I am back. And even though I wasn't making any videos, the reading has never stopped. So in this video, we're gonna go over our April, our May, and our June wrap up, all the books that we've been reading these last 3 months. And it is quite a lot because we are still on that hunt for 50 books this year, and I think after these 3 months we're a lot closer than we were before. So let's jump right into it with our first book, and that is Someone is Always Watching by Kelly Armstrong. Now, Someone is Always Watching is a book that follows the protagonist, Blythe. And Blythe is like your ordinary high schooler, but in this book, a lot of strange things start happening to Blythe and her friends. And we have to go along for the ride, and boy, is it a hell of a ride. Takes us through a lot of twists and turns. When I read the book in the beginning, I was really excited. It was very promising, but towards the middle, I kind of lost interest. I feel like the characters were really obnoxious. I feel like it started off so high and then it just kind of went downhill from there. I gave Someone is Always Watching a 6 out of 10. All right, we're gonna jump into our second book of our wrap up, and it is Family Lore by Elizabeth Acevedo. And this is Elizabeth Acevedo's first attempt at adult fiction. As you know, Elizabeth Acevedo has written books like The Poet X, Clap When You Land, The Fire on High, and this is her first attempt at actual adult fiction. I read this book and I really enjoyed it. It's about a Dominican family, and it has multiple perspectives, so we get insight to multiple people's lives, which I think when done correctly, it is really, really powerful for the reader, and I think that it was done correctly. There are a few things I would change. Sometimes the perspectives were a little overwhelming, but I got to learn a lot about the Dominican culture. I got to learn a lot about the characters. I would give this book, Family Lore, a 7 out of 10. All right, let's jump into our third book, and it is As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. This is the third installment in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, and this book was very disappointing. I had very high hopes because I'm such a fan of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I even like the second book, even though I do think it kind of went downhill from the first to the second. I think this is an ultimate drop. I really lost interest fast, and there's some stuff in this book, and I know when you're reading fiction, you have to suspend your belief in things that can happen, but it was things that was just so out of this world that it just really took away the reading experience for me. I gave this book a depressing 5 out of 10. Let's jump into another book that I really enjoyed, and it is Agatha Warrior. I actually just finished this book by Ende Okafor, and I really like this book. It's a lot different than the first one. This is the sequel to Agatha Witch, which is another book that I really enjoyed. This book was obviously has the same characters, but they went on a completely different adventure, and I really thought that was refreshing. The fight scenes were really cool, and you just get to learn a lot more about each character, even minor characters like Sasha and Chi-Chi. And then we have a lot of we have a lot of sub stories with those minor characters, like Sasha, Chi-Chi, and Sunny's older brother's love triangle, which I thought was really cool. The only thing I really didn't like was that I feels like some of those subplots towards the end of the book were kind of rushed to get finished, so we didn't get them fully fleshed. Still, I gave Agatha Warrior 7 out of 10. All right, we're gonna jump into a classic, one of my favorite series. I think I've talked about it on this channel. This is one of my favorite books in that series. I went to revisit it because I'm planning on doing a ranking system of all of these books, but it is a series of unfortunate events, The Reptile Room. This is the second book in that series by Lemony Snicket. And as you know, that we have our three orphans, Sonny, Klaus, and Violet Baudelaire, and they go live with a new relative who has a reptile room full of all of these snakes, and they are still being hunted down by Count Olaf. He is still doing his tricks and treachery to try to get the Baudelaire fortune, but I absolutely love this book. It's not my favorite in the series, but actually, no, it is one of my favorites in the series. 8 out of 10. Next, we have a classic book by S.E. Hilton, and it is The Outsiders. I read this because I'm going to be teaching this next school year, and I wanted to refresh myself with this book. So this book is a book that takes place in the 1960s, and it stars our main character, Pony Boy, and Pony Boy is part of a gang called the Greasers, and the Greasers have a rivalry with the Socias, who are more like those preppy boys. Book that I really enjoyed reading as a kid. I actually read this book 3 times. Always seemed to like it, always seemed to gravitate towards it. I'm gonna give this book an 8 out of 10. All right, this book is Dread Nation by Justina Ireland, and this is a post-Civil War apocalypse with zombies. You heard that correctly. Post-Civil War apocalypse with zombies. It is brilliant. I love this book. Follows our main character, Jane, and so many things happen with this book. So many sensitive issues are tackled, and I just really, really, truly love this book. 8 out of 10. Up next, we have the sequel to Divergent Allegiance, and you know, it continues the story. The story progresses. It's okay. I gave it a 6 out of 10. Not as good as the first, and even the first I didn't think was great, so this is like a step down, but pretty good book nonetheless. 6 out of 10. Our next book is a historical fiction book called Washington Black, and this follows our protagonist, George Washington Black, and it has a lot of sensitive topics, and I think that this book handles those topics really, really well. I'm not really into historical fiction, but I could not put this book down. 8 out of 10. All right, our next book is The Parker Inheritance, and this is more of like a middle grade book, but it is really cool. It's an interesting book. It has a nice mystery to it, and our characters are really, really complex, and a lot of things are happening, and it takes place in South Carolina, in the deep South, and it follows our protagonist, Candace Miller, and she figures out a mystery that the town's been going through for a long time. Really cool book. 7 out of 10. Next book is The Egypt Game. And this book is about a group of kids who create a really cool and interesting game based on ancient Egypt, and 7 out of 10. Our last book for our wrap up is a book, Monster, and Monster is by Walter Dean Myers, and it highlights a young man who is on trial and how that trial unfolds. Really, really compelling. One of Walter Dean Myers' best works. One of my favorites, of course. I gave this book a 7 out of 10. That is it for our April, our May, and our June wrap up. We read 12 books in the last 3 months, so that's about 1 book every single week. And then the next video, we're gonna highlight our progress towards our 50 books this year, how close we are. We're getting there. We're definitely on the right track, and we'll see how much work we have to put in to hit that actual goal. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for coming along on our journey. Supreme Book Dealer is a channel dedicated to books and literary discussions. If you like the content, please like this video, please subscribe to the channel, and please leave a comment. If you have a book that you want me to read and review, leave it in the comment. Have a lot of new videos coming to you guys, and as always, I'll see you soon. Keep reading, and peace.